Hello everyone, welcome back. Before we begin today's story, I want to take a moment to talk to you directly. If you want the full continuation of these stories, more uncensored 18+ ancient BL content, extended scenes, and unlimited royal forbidden romance, you can join us on Patreon at SpicyAncientBL. As you know, YouTube does not allow us to show or monetize everything freely here, so the deeper, much more intense, and truly uncensored versions are waiting for you over there. You can find the Patreon link right down in the video description and in the pinned comment. Come join us, and let's explore the stories that are too hot for this platform. Now, take a deep breath. Let the modern world fade away. Imagine the heavy scent of sandalwood incense and the metallic tang of fresh blood. We are stepping into the grand, freezing halls of the Great Yan dynasty. The story begins in absolute silence. The marble floors of the imperial throne room are cold, reflecting the pale winter moonlight that spills through the massive wooden lattice windows. In the center of this vast, terrifying room kneels a young man. His name is Prince Li Jian. Or, rather, he was a prince. Just 3 days ago, his kingdom fell. His father, the foolish king of the neighboring state, dared to rebel against the expanding Yan Empire, and they paid the ultimate price in blood and fire. Li Jian kneels there, his once pristine white silk robes torn, his silver hair falling over his bruised face. His wrists are bound with heavy iron chains. He is waiting for the executioner's blade. He has prepared his heart to die. He refuses to tremble. He refuses to give his conquerors the satisfaction of his fear. But the footsteps that echo through the grand hall do not belong to an executioner. They are slow, deliberate, heavy with an authority that makes the very air in the room feel thin. Li Jian slowly raises his head, his dark, defiant eyes glaring through his messy hair. Walking down the steps of the golden throne is the emperor himself, Emperor Shen Wei. Shen Wei is young, only 24, but he wears the crown like a man who has lived 1,000 bloody lifetimes. He is terrifyingly beautiful. His sharp jawline, his cold, obsidian eyes, his broad shoulders draped in heavy, black and gold imperial robes embroidered with dragons. He is a man known as the Winter Tyrant. A man who supposedly has ice in his veins instead of blood. Shen Wei stops just inches away from Li Jian. The chains rattle slightly. As Jian shifts, his body tense, ready to fight even with his bare, bound hands. For a long, agonizing moment, the emperor says nothing. He just stares down at the ruined prince. His gaze is unreadable, heavy, tracing the sharp line of Jian's cheekbone, the cut on his pale lip, the fierce, unbroken fire in his eyes. "Kill me," Jian spits out, his voice hoarse but steady. "Get it over with. Mount my head on your city gates, Shen Wei." The emperor's eyes narrow slightly. A dangerous, low hum vibrates in his chest. Slowly, Shen Wei reaches out. He doesn't strike him. Instead, his long, aristocratic fingers calloused from years of wielding a sword, brush against Jian's chin. Jian flinches, trying to pull away, but Shen Wei's grip is like iron. He tilts Jian's face up, forcing him to look directly into his cold, dark eyes. "You are too beautiful to rot on a pike, little prince," Shen Wei murmurs. His voice is deep, rich, and painfully smooth, echoing in the empty hall. "Your kingdom belongs to me now. Your lands, your armies, and you." Shen Wei's thumb slowly traces the line of Jian's bruised lower lip. The touch is shockingly gentle, burning against Jian's cold skin. "You will not die," the emperor whispers, leaning in so close that Jian can feel his warm breath against his cheek. "You will live in my palace. You will serve in my chambers. You will grind my ink, pour my tea, and sleep at the foot of my bed. You belong to me, Li Jian, down to your very last breath." Jian's heart pounds against his ribs like a trapped bird. Anger, humiliation, and something else. Something dangerously electric sparks in his chest. "I would rather die than be your dog." Shen Wei releases his chin, standing tall once more. He looks down at him, a faint, almost imperceptible smirk playing on his lips. "We will see about that." And just like that, the defeated prince becomes the personal servant of the most ruthless emperor in history. Weeks pass, the winter deepens. Snow falls endlessly over the golden rooftops of the imperial palace. For Li Jian, life becomes a strange, suffocating dance. He is not locked in a dungeon. He is not beaten or starved. Instead, he is trapped in a cage of silk and gold. he is forced to wear the softest, midnight blue robes of a royal attendant. The iron chains are gone, but invisible chains bind him to Emperor Shen Wei's side at all hours of the day, and the tension between them is unbearable. Imagine being trapped in a quiet, dimly lit room with your greatest enemy, every single night. It is late in the Emperor's private study. The only light comes from the flickering flames of the charcoal braziers and the soft glow of wax candles. Outside, the wind howls, but inside, it is hot, almost too hot. Shen Wei is sitting at his low wooden desk, reading over military scrolls. His dark hair is half tied up, a few loose strands falling over his sharp eyes. He has taken off his heavy outer robes, wearing only a thin, white inner garment that falls slightly open at his chest, revealing the smooth, muscular planes of his skin and the faint edge of old battle scars. Li Jian is kneeling beside the desk, quietly grinding ink on an inkstone, circle after circle. The rhythmic sound of the inkstick grinding against the stone is the only noise in the room, but Jian can feel it. He can feel the Emperor's eyes on him. Every time Jian looks down, he knows Shen Wei has stopped reading. He knows Shen Wei is watching the way his hands move, the way the soft blue silk slides off his shoulder, the way his chest rises and falls with his breath. Jian's hands tremble slightly. The air between them feels thick, charged with a magnetic, invisible electricity. It's infuriating. Jian hates him. He is supposed to hate him. So why does his skin burn wherever Shen Wei's gaze lands? You are grinding too fast. Shen Wei's deep voice suddenly breaks the silence. Jian stops. He looks up, his dark eyes flashing with that familiar defiance. Does His Majesty prefer his ink ruined, or does he just enjoy finding faults? It's treasonous to speak to an emperor that way. Anyone else would lose their tongue. But Shen Wei merely sets his scroll down. He leans back, resting his chin on his knuckles, his dark eyes locking onto Jian. "Come here," Shen Wei commands, his voice low. Jian hesitates, his jaw clenching, but he knows the rules. Slowly, reluctantly, he rises from his knees and steps around the desk, standing beside the seated emperor. Shen Wei reaches out. He doesn't take the ink stick. Instead, his large, warm hand covers Jiang's hand. Jiang gasps softly, his eyes widening. Shen Wei's palm is hot against the back of his hand. His fingers wrap around Jiang's, guiding his hand back down to the inkstone. "Like this?" Shen Wei whispers, pulling Jian down slightly so they are agonizingly close. Jian can smell the emperor's scent, sandalwood, dark tea, and something deeply masculine and intoxicating. Shen Wei's hand guides Jian's hand in slow, deliberate circles over the stone. "Patience, Li Jian. You rush too much. You fight too hard. Sometimes you just need to yield to the pressure." The double meaning hangs in the air, heavy and suffocating. Jian's breath hitches. He looks down at their intertwined hands, then up at Shen Wei's face. The emperor is looking right at his lips. For one heart-stopping second, Jian thinks Shen Wei is going to kiss him. The space between them vanishes. Shen Wei leans in, his gaze dropping to the pulse fluttering wildly at the base of Jian's throat. Jian's body betrays him. He doesn't pull away. He stays frozen, mesmerized, waiting. But then, a sudden knock on the grand wooden doors shatters the moment. "Your Majesty," a eunuch's voice calls out nervously, "the ministers have arrived for the late council." Shen Wei pauses. A flicker of deep annoyance crosses his eyes. Slowly, reluctantly, he pulls his hand away, leaving Jian's skin feeling strangely, coldly empty. "Send them in," Shen Wei orders, his voice returning to that of the cold, untouchable emperor. But before he looks away, his eyes dart back to Jian, burning with an unspoken promise. Later, as the days turn into a bitter, freezing month, the dynamic between them begins to shift. Jian starts to notice things. He notices that despite being a captive, he is eating the same high-quality food as the emperor. He notices that when the cruel, sneering ministers in the court try to humiliate Jian, calling him a traitorous dog, Shen Wei silences them with a single, terrifying glare that promises death. Jian begins to realize the emperor is protecting him. Keeping him as a personal servant wasn't a punishment. It was an excuse to keep him alive. Because if Jian were anywhere else in the palace, the nobles would have quietly poisoned him by now. Why? Why would the monster who conquered his home go to such lengths to protect him? The answer comes during the winter solstice banquet. And listen, if you are enjoying this forbidden royal tension and you can already feel where this is going, remember, the extended and uncensored 18-plus continuation of this story is waiting for you on Patreon at SpicyAncientBL. The link is right there in the description and the pinned comment. Don't miss out on the scenes we can't show here. The Great Hall is a sea of red lanterns, golden silk, and decadent food. Musicians play soft, hypnotizing melodies on stringed instruments. Courtiers and generals drink wine, laughing loudly, celebrating the emperor's recent victories. Shen Wei sits at the highest table, wearing magnificent crimson and gold robes. He looks like a god among mortals, cold, bored, untouchable. Li Jian stands in the shadows just behind the emperor's throne, holding a silver wine jug. He is supposed to be invisible, but he can't take his eyes off Shen Wei's broad back. Suddenly, the prime minister stands up, a sly, ambitious smile on his face. He claps his hands, and the music stops. Into the hall walks a woman. She is a princess from a powerful allied clan, draped in sheer silk, breathtakingly beautiful, moving with the grace of a swan. The entire hall goes quiet in awe. "Your Majesty," the prime minister booms. "You have conquered the world, yet the inner palace remains empty. It is time to secure the imperial bloodline. I present my niece, Lady Mei Lin. Take her as your empress tonight, and solidify our empire." The courtiers erupt into cheers. An empress for the winter tyrant. In the shadows, Li Jian's heart completely shatters. A sudden, violent wave of jealousy crashes through him. It hits him so hard he physically steps back, his grip tightening around the silver wine jug until his knuckles turn white. Empress. Shen Wei taking a wife. Shen Wei looking at someone else. Shen Wei touching this beautiful woman the way he touches. Jian bites the inside of his cheek until he tastes blood. He has no right to be jealous. He is a prisoner, a servant, an enemy. But his chest feels like it's being crushed by stones. Shen Wei sits perfectly still. He slowly raises his dark eyes, looking at the beautiful princess kneeling before him. The hall is holding its breath. Then, without saying a word, Shen Wei turns his head. He doesn't look at the prime minister. He doesn't look at the beautiful woman offering herself to him. He looks over his shoulder, into the shadows, directly at Li Jian. Across the crowded, noisy room, their eyes lock. And in Shen Wei's eyes, there is no coldness. There is only a fierce, burning, absolute obsession. It is a look that says, "There is no one else in this room but you." Shen Wei slowly turns back to the crowd. He picks up his wine cup, draining it in one slow sip, before slamming it down onto the wooden table with a loud crack that echoes like thunder. The cheering instantly dies. The room falls into a terrified silence. "I have no need for an empress." Shen Wei's voice cuts through the air like a blade of ice. "My bed is my own. Bring this up again, minister, and I will cut out your tongue." The prime minister turns pale, falling to his knees in terror. The beautiful princess scrambles away, weeping. Jiang stands frozen in the shadows, his breath coming in shallow gasps. Shen Wei just rejected the most powerful alliance in the kingdom. For what? For a fallen prince? The banquet ends early, in a suffocating atmosphere of fear. When they return to the emperor's private chambers, the silence is deafening. Shen Wei dismisses all the guards and eunuchs. The massive wooden doors click shut, leaving only the two of them alone in the dim, candlelit room. Jian stands by the door, his heart hammering wildly. He doesn't know what to do with his hands. He doesn't know what to do with this overwhelming, terrifying feeling inside his chest. Shen Wei turns around. He unfastens his heavy golden belt, letting the heavy crimson outer robes slip off his broad shoulders and pool onto the floor. He stands there in just his dark silk inner robes, his chest rising and falling heavily. He looks exhausted. He looks entirely human. Shen Wei takes a step toward Jian. Jian instinctively takes a step back, his back hitting the solid wood of the door. There is nowhere left to run. Shen Wei walks right up to him, stopping only when their chests are mere inches apart. He reaches out, slamming one hand against the door, right beside Jian's head, trapping him completely. "Why were you looking at me like that in the hall?" Shen Wei murmurs, his voice a dangerous, gravelly whisper. Jian's breath hitches. He turns his head away, unable to meet those piercing dark eyes. "I don't know what your majesty means." "Liar," Shen Wei breathes out. He leans closer, his nose brushing against Jian's cheek. The scent of wine and danger is intoxicating. You were gripping that wine jug so tightly I thought you were going to crush it. You were furious. Why? I wasn't. Were you jealous, my little enemy? Shen Wei taunts softly, his other hand coming up to grip Jian's jaw, forcing him to look at him. Did it make you sick to think of another person in my bed? Jian's eyes blaze with a mixture of anger, pride, and desperate longing. You are insane. Why would I care? You can have 100 empresses. I hope you do. Shen Wei's eyes darken. The air shifts, becoming thick, heavy, and incredibly dangerous. Don't lie to me, Shen Wei growls. He steps entirely into Jian's space, pressing his hard, warm body flush against Jian's. Jian lets out a soft, involuntary gasp at the contact. I rejected the most beautiful woman in the realm, Shen Wei whispers, his lips brushing against the shell of Jian's ear, sending a violent shiver down the prince's spine. I humiliated my own prime minister. I made enemies of half my court tonight. Do you know why? Jian is trembling now, his hands coming up to press against Shen Wei's solid chest, but he doesn't push him away. His fingers merely curl into the dark silk. Why? He whispers, his voice breaking. Because I am already possessed, Shen Wei answers fiercely. He pulls back just enough to stare deeply into Jian's eyes. Because the only person I want in my halls, the only person I want in my bed, is a stubborn, sharp-tongued prince who wants to cut my throat. Jian's breath stops completely. Before he can process the words, Shen Wei's hand slides to the back of Jian's neck, his fingers tangling in the silver hair. He pulls Jian forward and crashes their lips together. It is not a gentle kiss. It is a war. It is desperation, frustration, and months of forbidden, suppressed desire finally snapping. Shen Wei kisses him like a starving man, his lips hot and demanding, his tongue sliding against Jian's, tasting the lingering sweetness of the banquet wine and the metallic tang of fear. Jian whimpers against his mouth, his mind spinning into absolute chaos. He should fight back. He should push the emperor away. This is the man who conquered his home. But his traitorous body melts. His hands, which had been resting on Shen Wei's chest, slide up, wrapping around the emperor's broad shoulders, pulling him closer. Jian opens his mouth, yielding to the kiss, kissing him back with a desperate, fiery intensity that matches Shen Wei's own. Shen Wei groans, a deep, guttural sound that vibrates against Jian's chest. He wraps his strong arms around Jian's waist, lifting the prince off the floor and pinning him harder against the heavy wooden doors. They kiss until they are both gasping for air, their chests heaving, their foreheads pressed together. The hatred, the politics, the war, it all melts away, leaving only this raw, undeniable truth. You are mine, Shen Wei whispers fiercely against Jian's swollen lips. You hear me? You are mine. Jian closes his eyes, a single tear slipping down his cheek as he finally surrenders to the feeling. I know. But in the ancient royal court, a forbidden romance is more dangerous than any loaded weapon. The very next day, the atmosphere in the palace turns poisonous. The prime minister and the nobles are furious over the emperor's rejection. They begin to whisper. They notice the way the emperor looks at his captive servant. They notice the way Li Jian now stands a little closer to the throne, the way the emperor's hand occasionally brushes his when taking a scroll. They decide that the enemy prince is a bewitching demon who has corrupted their emperor, and he must be eliminated. The assassination attempt happens 3 days later, during a walk in the imperial gardens. It is snowing heavily. The plum blossoms are covered in white frost. Shen Wei and Li Jian are walking side by side down a secluded path, guarded only by a few royal guards trailing far behind. They are talking quietly, a rare moment of peace, their shoulders brushing with every step. Suddenly, the silence is shattered by the sharp whistle of arrows. Black-clad assassins drop from the snowy rooftops of the garden pavilions like shadows. Before the royal guards can even draw their weapons, half of them are cut down. Jian, get back, Shen Wei roars, instantly drawing his heavy, silver broadsword from his hip. He steps in front of Jian, his eyes cold and murderous. 3 assassins lunge at him simultaneously. Shen Wei moves like a demon, his sword flashing in a deadly arc, spraying hot crimson blood across the pristine white snow. Jian doesn't run. He refuses to hide behind Shen Wei. He grabs a sword from a fallen guard and steps back to back with the emperor. They fight together in the swirling snow, a lethal dance of silver and blood. Jian is a prince trained in swordsmanship, and though his body is weaker from captivity, his reflexes are sharp. He deflects a blade meant for Shen Wei's blind spot, spinning and kicking the assassin away. "I told you to run," Shen Wei barks, parrying a heavy blow that sends sparks flying into the cold air. "Shut up and watch your left," Jian yells back, slashing an enemy across the chest. They are vastly outnumbered. The assassins are highly trained, clearly hired by someone powerful within the court. As Shen Wei dispatches two more, a fourth assassin slips past his guard. The assassin isn't aiming for the Emperor, he is aiming for Jian. A poisoned dagger flies straight toward Jian's chest. Jian turns, his eyes widening as he realizes he cannot block it in time. He braces for the fatal impact, but it never comes. Shen Wei throws himself forward. He violently shoves Jian out of the way, taking the blow himself. The dagger sinks deep into Shen Wei's shoulder, right near his collarbone. The Emperor lets out a muffled grunt of pain, stumbling backward, but he doesn't fall. With a terrifying roar, he grabs the assassin by the throat with his bare hand and drives his sword straight through the man's heart. The remaining assassins, seeing the Imperial reinforcements finally rushing into the courtyard with heavy crossbows, scatter into the wind. The courtyard falls dead silent, save for the sound of the howling wind and heavily panting breaths. Shen Wei stands there, his silver sword dripping blood onto the snow. He looks down at the dagger buried in his shoulder. The blood seeping into his golden robes isn't just red, it is sickeningly dark. "Poison?" Shen Wei whispers, before his eyes roll back and he collapses. "Shen Wei!" Jian screams, dropping his sword and dropping to his knees in the snow. He catches the Emperor's heavy body, pulling his head into his lap. Shen Wei is pale, his lips already turning a faint shade of blue. His breathing is shallow and ragged. "No, no, no. You don't get to do this," Jian begs, his voice cracking as his hands press frantically against the wound, getting covered in the Emperor's hot, sticky blood. "You don't get to die on me. You conquered my kingdom. You arrogant bastard. You don't get to leave me alone." Shen Wei's eyes flutter open slightly. Even through the haze of the poison, he looks up at Jian's terrified, tear-stained face. A faint, weak smile touches his pale lips. He slowly raises a trembling, bloody hand, his fingers brushing against Jian's cheek, wiping away a tear. "Why are you crying, my enemy?" Shen Wei whispers faintly. "I told you I wouldn't let anyone touch you." His hand falls limp into the snow. The Emperor loses consciousness. The next 3 days are a waking nightmare. The Imperial physicians managed to extract the dagger and give him an antidote, but the poison was rare and devastating. Shen Wei burns with a horrific fever. He lies in the massive Imperial bed, completely unresponsive, his bare chest wrapped in thick white bandages that constantly need changing. The court is in absolute chaos. The Prime Minister tries to take control, demanding that Li Jian be thrown into the dungeons, accusing him of orchestrating the assassination. But Jian refuses to leave the room. He locks the massive doors of the bedchamber from the inside. He stands by the bed with Shen Wei's own sword drawn, threatening to kill any minister or guard who dares to try and take him away from the Emperor's side. For 3 days and 3 nights, Jian does not sleep. He sits by the bed, bathing Shen Wei's burning skin with cool water. He changes the bloody bandages with trembling hands. He holds Shen Wei's hot, limp hand against his own cheek, praying to gods he stopped believing in long ago. "Please wake up," Jian whispers into the dark, silent room on the 3rd night. His eyes are red, his voice utterly broken. He presses his lips to Shen Wei's knuckles. "I yield. Do you hear me? I yield. You won. I am yours. Just open your eyes." As if hearing his plea, Shen Wei's fingers twitch. Jian gasps, sitting up. Shen Wei's dark eyes slowly open. He looks exhausted, pale, and weak, but the terrifying fire in his eyes is still there. He turns his head slowly, looking at the exhausted, messy, beautiful prince holding his hand. "You look terrible," Shen Wei murmurs, his voice barely a raspy whisper. A sob rips from Jian's throat. He drops his forehead against Shen Wei's chest, crying out of pure, overwhelming relief. He doesn't care about his pride anymore. He doesn't care about his fallen kingdom. He only cares about the steady beating of the heart beneath his ear. Shen Wei's uninjured arm comes up, wrapping weakly around Jian's waist, pulling him closer into the bed. I told you, Li Jian, even death cannot take me from you. But their relief is short-lived. The moment the court discovers the emperor is awake, the ministers strike. The doors to the grand bedchamber are thrown open by the royal guard. The prime minister walks in, looking triumphant, holding a stack of forged letters. Your Majesty, thank the heavens you are awake, the prime minister says, bowing deeply. But his eyes are locked on Li Jian, with venomous hatred. While you were incapacitated, we conducted an investigation. We found these letters in this traitor's quarters. Li Jian communicated with the remnants of his army. He hired the assassins. He tried to murder you. Jian stands up from the bed, his face pale. That is a lie. I have never seen those letters. Silence, dog, the prime minister barks. Your Majesty, the law is clear. High treason is punishable by death. The entire court demands his execution. If you do not execute him, the military generals threaten to rebel. You must give us his head to stabilize the empire. It is a checkmate. The prime minister is using the military's fear to force Shen Wei's hand. Choose the empire, or choose the boy. Jian looks at Shen Wei. The emperor is still weak, sitting up against the pillows, his face unreadable. Jian's heart sinks. He knows how politics work. An emperor cannot lose the loyalty of his army over a servant. It would mean civil war. Jian takes a slow step back. He straightens his posture, lifting his chin, returning to the proud prince he was the day they met. He is right, Jian says softly, his voice trembling only slightly. He looks directly at Shen Wei, offering him a sad, beautiful smile. You are the emperor. Your duty is to the realm. Let me go. Shen Wei, execute me. It is the only way. The room is silent. The prime minister smiles victoriously. Shen Wei slowly pushes the heavy silk blankets off his body. Your Majesty, you shouldn't move, a physician cries out. Shen Wei ignores him, wearing only his thin, blood-stained inner robes. Moving with agonizing slowness, the emperor steps out of the bed. He sways slightly, his face pale with pain, but his eyes are like black ice. He walks past Jian. He walks directly up to the prime minister. Show me the letters, Shen Wei demands quietly. The prime minister proudly hands them over. See for yourself, Your Majesty. His seal is at the bottom. Shen Wei takes the letters. He doesn't even read them. He holds them over the nearest candle flame. The paper catches fire, burning brightly in the dim room. Shen Wei drops the burning ashes onto the floor, crushing them under his bare foot. The prime minister gasps, Your Majesty, what are you doing? That was the evidence. The generals demand justice. Shen Wei slowly reaches out and unsheathes the sword of the guard standing next to him. In one blindingly fast, ruthless motion, Shen Wei swings the heavy blade. A spray of blood hits the wall. The prime minister falls to the floor, dead before he even realizes what happened. The guards in the room scream and draw their weapons in panic, but Shen Wei stands tall, his terrifying aura flooding the room, freezing everyone in place. Despite his injury, he looks like a god of war. Listen to me very carefully. Shen Wei's voice echoes through the bloody room, low, deadly, and absolute. If any general, any minister, or any soldier speaks Li Jian's name with disrespect, I will personally slaughter their entire bloodline. If the army wishes to rebel over this, let them try. I will drown this capital in blood before I let anyone touch a single hair on his head. He drops the bloody sword. He turns his back on the terrified guards and looks at Jian. Jian is standing frozen, tears streaming down his face, completely overwhelmed by the sheer, terrifying magnitude of Shen Wei's devotion. Shen Wei walks over to him, his energy finally fading. He stumbles, and Jian catches him, wrapping his arms tightly around the emperor's broad shoulders, holding him up. You fool, Jian sobs, burying his face in the crook of Shen Wei's uninjured neck. You absolute reckless fool. You just started a war for me. I don't care, Shen Wei whispers, burying his face in Jian's silver hair, breathing in his scent like it's the only oxygen left in the world. I conquered this world so I could keep you in it. The throne means nothing if you are not standing beside it. That night, it rains. A heavy, torrential downpour washes over the golden rooftops of the palace, washing away the blood, the tension, and the fears of the past months. Inside the royal bedchamber, The fires roar in the braziers, casting a warm, golden glow over the massive bed. Shen Wei is resting against the pillows. Jian is sitting beside him, gently applying a fresh, soothing herbal paste to the wound on his shoulder. His touch is so light, so incredibly tender. Shen Wei watches him. He watches the way the firelight catches the silver of Jian's hair, the way his dark eyes soften with concentration, the slight blush on his pale cheeks. Slowly, Shen Wei reaches up. His large hand cups the back of Jian's neck, pulling him down. Jian doesn't resist. He leans in, pressing his lips to Shen Wei's in a slow, deep, agonizingly tender kiss. There is no war in this kiss. There is no anger. There is only a profound, overwhelming surrender. Jian's hands slide down Shen Wei's chest, feeling the heavy, steady beating of his heart. Shen Wei groans softly, his good arm wrapping around Jian's waist, pulling the prince fully into his lap, tangling their legs together in the soft silk sheets. They break the kiss, both panting softly in the quiet room. "Stay with me," Shen Wei whispers, his thumb tracing Jian's swollen bottom lip. "Not as a servant, not as a captive. Stay with me, as mine." Jian looks down into those dark, intense eyes. He thinks of his fallen kingdom. He thinks of the dangers of the court. He thinks of the absolute madness of falling in love with the monster who conquered his world. And then he smiles. A true, breathtakingly beautiful smile. "Always," Jian whispers. He leans down, capturing Shen Wei's lips again, as the rain falls heavily outside, hiding them away from the rest of the world. In the shadows of the empire, they have found a kingdom of their own. And that is where we pause our story for today. If you want the next part, the uncensored continuation of that fiery night, and more unlimited 18+ ancient royal BL stories, come join us at SpicyAncientBL on Patreon. The link is waiting for you right now in the description and in the pinned comment. Come find out exactly what happens behind those closed doors and support the creation of these stories. Thank you so much for listening. Let me know what you thought of Shen Wei and Li Jian in the comments below. Until next time, stay immersed in the story.